Hi, Reed.
Hi, Avery.
We're here for a Green Corner.
We're here for a Green Corner.
Is this a Green Takes or is it a deep dive?
I think it's a ranking.
Okay.
I think it's outside the paradigm of...
Ranking every episode of Over the Garden Wall 2.
Yes. Today we're going to be talking about the Creep tapes. If anyone's a long-standing member of our channel, we've talked about Creep.
1?
And Creep 2.
2.
On Deep Dive. We watched the first Creep. I mean, if you want to watch our discussions of those, we won't rehash it all. There's links below. You can go watch our discussions. Fun little found footage horror movies.
Mark Duplass's $12 personal projects. Yeah. That's really fun.
They're fun. I watched the first one when I was a lot younger. We rewatched it. I liked it again. You were medium. We watched the second one, and you liked it a lot more, and I liked it again. They're fun. The whole concept is Mark Duplass plays a serial killer that lures people out to, under false pretenses of being a videographer. I'll pay you $1,000 to film me for the day, and he gets into wacky scenarios. So the Creep tapes are a 6-episode miniseries that is an extension of the 2 films.
Shudder original, I believe?
Yeah, Shudder. We love Shudder. Sponsor is Shudder. And we watched all 6 of them, and we're going to talk about it because this is currently the ending of the Creepoverse until they make... Apparently there is a season 2, but...
I mean, it's more of the middle, but yeah.
Yeah. We're going to rank them. We know you guys like it when we rank them. We're going to rank them, which no one asked for. No one asked us to rank
I see all your comments. Everyone was like, that Over the Garden Wall video, that was our favorite video.
Yeah.
Do more of that.
Go rank the Creep tapes.
Yeah.
And then and we got a little surprise at the end. So let's get into this. I guess just first vibes. What was your overall thoughts of the Creep tapes, Avery?
This was my favorite of the 3 Creep things.
Oh, okay.
But I still just don't think this is for me so much.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I have the same kind of issues that I don't need to super rehash that are very kind of personal, where I think this is more a project for other people, but I would say that this was the most interesting of the 3 Creep things, and it kind of had some peaks and valleys. There were some episodes that I really enjoyed, and some where I was just kind of like,
Mm-hmm.
But it's a cool project, and I think that it's commendable that he's finding interesting things to do still with this very small concept.
Yeah.
To the degree that he is, and I like that it's happening, and I'm interested to talk about it.
Me too, and I think I liked it. Overall, it was good. There's some episodes I really liked. There's some episodes that I found a little bit embarrassing and cringe.
I'm really curious if we have the same ranking, or if we
Me too. So there's some really good stuff in here, and I think it's also just the enthusiasm of Mark Duplass and the director
Patrick Bryce.
Really, I think shines through to the finished product. Like, you can tell how much fun they're having, and clearly they love making these. So it's a fun experience to watch them. I would say that this is probably my least favorite of the 3 Creepoverses, at least on average. There's individual episodes I think I liked more than either of the movies, but then there's episodes I did not care for really at all. So it's kind of all over the place. It's a little swingy. That's gonna make it interesting to talk about, interesting to rank.
I know this whole setup is a little awkward.
The first Creep is just a serial killer movie. We talked about it on our episode, but the first Creep is like, the whole thing is that it can't just be that he's the serial killer because it's too obvious.
Yeah.
And then he is, and it plays on that expectation. And then the second Creep, as we talked about, is the flip of that.
Yeah.
Right? She knows he's a creep, and she's going into this willingly, so there's like a double agent kind of, we're doing the inverse of the expectations of the first one. The Creep tapes, I guess we'll talk about it, but they kind of go into familiar ground and then also very new ground.
Yeah.
And it's kind of all over the place.
I think despite how much I like 2, I think this is almost a better sequel to the first one than Creep 2 was, because Creep 2 is kind of like it's kind of like the end of the road for him a little bit, where he's like kind of questioning everything. He seems very tired of being a creep.
Yeah, it's the end of his arc.
Yeah, it's the end of the arc, whereas this is not the end, but it's sort of it's more of his arc, I guess. I guess it kind of fills in the middle. Filmmaking-wise, it's very similar. I mean, I guess I don't know if I was expecting it, but I was kind of hoping for some more stuff. I mean, I didn't know if I thought there was going to be a bigger budget, but, you know, it's like the same camera. There's like a couple of new sets, but they're the same thing. They didn't judge it up with like anything real creative in terms of like just the scope. Not to speak of the plot, which I think we will speak in the actual events of the episode. But
yeah.
I guess I was just a little interested going into the show of like, are they going to take this character, you know, Jason goes to space, do something a little bit out there with it?
I was going to say, they don't go to space.
They don't go to space, but it is very much just him and one guy go to one rental hotel room or cabin with the same camera. And it's good. Like, that's the space they're going in. He doesn't want to depart from it, and that's fine. But I guess I would have been curious to see something a little bit more kind of out there.
Push the envelope.
Yeah.
I think that's where the show excelled the most for me, is when it pushes the envelope of what can we do within this framework without it being so ridiculous that it's like silly. How far can we push it? Those are the episodes I really liked. And the ones that I think retread almost exactly the same ground as the first two movies are the ones I did not like. So what I'm excited to see more from this series is definitely for them to push that envelope of like pushing the weird ones.
Yeah.
I'm realizing the more we talk about this, we probably just want to get into the ranking, because we're kind of dancing around a bunch of things we'll want to talk about with individual episodes. So is there anything else overall you want to mention before we just start ranking them?
No. So, Reed, seeing as you're the creepiest, why don't we do your ranking?
We'll do my ranking.
And then I'll tell you where I put that episode.
We'll go 6 to 1.
Yeah.
We'll talk about them in my order, and then you just say which one you had at 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Let's do it.
So number 6.
We'll sound the alarm if we have the exact same one.
Yes. So number 6, I have Brant.
Really? Okay.
I did, and this is the one that might be divisive.
That is.
And I knew it was going to be divisive.
Because that is my number 2.
Okay. What do you have at number 6?
I had Jeremy as 6.
Okay, I had Jeremy up higher on my list.
Okay,
so we're
it's controversial.
We're already getting into it.
All right, let's talk about Brant, though.
So Brant is the meta episode?
It's the bottle episode.
Yeah.
He's waiting around in a hotel room for a guy who he thinks is standing him up.
This is Brant, my first solo project.
And now, I was confused by this, because he keeps saying, this is my first solo kill. Do you think that means, like, without Peach Fuzz?
That's how I took it, yeah.
Like, without his alter ego? It's not really, he was never really killing with another person. It's kind of in his own head?
I think he's kind of got this, like, split personality thing is what they're alluding to. That he's, like, got 2 personas, and that this is... Mark, I just have to say Mark Duplass because he doesn't have a consistent name.
He has different names. Mark Duplass.
This is Mark Duplass committing murder and like trying to commit murder without Peach Fuzz.
No, I don't need you. You go. You get out of here.
Yeah, I guess so the general premise, he's luring a guy Brant to the hotel to film him for $1,000, presumably to kill him.
Yep.
But Brant stands him up, or at least he doesn't show up when he's supposed to. He's hours late.
And you actually get to see the initial part. It starts out with him like hiding axes and ropes, and like setting up for the pranks that you would
Which
just
I
see
really
happen.
liked.
I like that too.
I really like that, and I really liked when he thinks he's been stood up. He's calling him like a jealous partner would, like where are you? You should know this is very rude, and hangs up.
Brant, this is Kyle again. I just have to say one last thing. I think you're being really unprofessional, and you know what? Unprofessional is fine, but you know what's not fine? Being rude and inconsiderate.
I thought that was fantastic because we've never really seen, at least we don't think we've really ever seen Mark Duplass fully lose control, where he's losing control of the situation. He's always fully in control, manipulating all the surroundings. But this is like, what if they just don't come?
Yeah.
What would his response be? You finally get to see it. And while I do have this in last place, I loved all of that. I loved all the setup.
You must have really hated the rest. My goodness, because this is why it was so high for me. It was because of how much I liked this stuff.
I liked all this stuff, but then the episode does go into Peach Fuzz. So the mask is kind of haunting him for the episode. He throws the mask out of the room, and the mask shows up back in the room. He has conversations with himself wearing the mask, or Peach Fuzz is a separate entity. Like, it starts getting very doppelganger-y. That's the stuff I didn't love as much. So I think that's going to be maybe where we're divisive. I found once it got to him talking to himself, it was a little bit like, I was getting vibes of bad improv. It didn't feel like they were actually saying anything. It was kind of all like the most boilerplate, argue with yourself golem scene, talking to himself kind of stuff.
No. That's not how this works. Because we are a family, and we have to consider everyone's feelings here. Do you understand that?
It didn't have the meat to it. And I'm like, up until this point in the series, I was actually really excited for, I want a world building.
Peek behind the curtain.
I want a lore episode.
Yeah.
And then I got it, and I was like, actually, I don't know if I really want it, because I don't feel like that. It didn't improve my perception of the rest of the material in the way I thought it would. And that's why it left me disappointed overall.
See, it's interesting. It's going to be hard to talk about without talking about the next episode, but that's how I felt about the finale. I didn't like the lore building of the finale very much, but I liked this because it was so unclear.
Okay.
I think you had to be very careful with world building because you can ruin this character very quickly by explaining too much and just like ruin so much of the magic of it. So if you're seeing him on his own kind of being more vulnerable, I think that was some of the problems with Creep 2 was they didn't necessarily do that perfectly. I liked that it was just kind of mania, that it was like, what the hell is going on? That it was confusing and like I was barely like he's got himself tied up and you're trying to figure out like is he what? I enjoyed that it was kind of chaotic. Like it felt appropriate. Like you're reading this window into this. You were really seeing the depths of how insane he was, and it wasn't really being explained. And you're like, oh, like I don't know. I actually really like this one.
You're almost talking me into it. But what I have to say is it's like, I like all this on paper, but it didn't resonate.
Okay.
And I feel like it's because the dialogue didn't justify the bottle episode. I didn't get enough. Him being tied up in the bathtub, somehow being filmed by another entity.
Yeah.
That was kind of neat. I do think, I did not expect the show to have a supernatural angle. Because this is what we got to talk about. There's stuff that happens in this episode that is not possible.
Yeah.
Like the bag moving by itself, he opens it, it's just the Peach Fuzz mask. Either there's actually a supernatural component, or he's editing these, which I think is probably the answer. Like
I think it's just unreliable narrator.
He says he's a filmmaker, so in my head he has like edited this post to make it look the way it is. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Wait, is this real or are you tricking me? Because you know I have a hard time telling the difference.
It's all real, my soul brother.
I like all these ideas on paper, but I just found that there wasn't enough meat to it to justify him talking to himself. I don't know.
I get that. And this is one of the ones I didn't rewatch. I only watched it the first time. And I think part of the reason I liked it so much is by the time it hit here, I was so starved for like, okay, you can't just do Aaron again.
You couldn't.
And it was something different. And I was like, thank God. And so I was just kind of just like really excited for whatever it was. I can see how I might have that problem on a rewatch that I might be like, okay, this is a departure. This is something different, but the actual execution isn't as good as excited I was about it because it was just something different.
Yeah.
I guess another thing is, I meant to kind of say this in my opening. I like The League so much. I've seen that show like 5 times. It's so hard when he's being silly in any of the episodes to not just see Pete from The League.
Yeah.
In one single moment, he was cowardly, gay, homophobic, and racist. The perfect quadfecta.
And this one I didn't.
Okay.
It was sinister enough, even when he's being ridiculous and like he's so much more. He's higher energy. He's not trying to blend in as like a person. He's like crazy. This got far enough away from Pete that I enjoyed the silliness and wasn't just like still thinking about The League.
I think that's a really good point.
And I think that's another like it's not fair. It's not fair, but because what can he do? He was in The League, but like.
It is creepier. It's a much creepier episode than the other ones.
Yeah.
Because you are just watching a guy lose his mind on camera.
And I did enjoy that part of it. That was nice. And it was one of the few times where the humor worked in service of the horror for me throughout this whole show.
Okay. There's one thing I don't like in general about the series that this episode did a couple of times, so we'll raise it now. And that's, this show has a lot of callbacks to the 2 movies.
Yeah.
There's like it's gonna be a great day.
Oh my God. This is gonna be a good day.
Oh, this is gonna be a good day, Elliot.
Yeah.
And then there's the rubbing the butt.
Stop it! Stop it! Don't you grind those hips at me. I know what you're doing, and I will do it right back to you. I will.
The grinding of the hips, the axe. It did start to annoy me a bit because I'm like, we've seen this guy collectively for like 3 hours. The odds that we've seen every single little nuance of his behavior, it seems very low. It's weird that we're seeing 6 tapes across all these years and he keeps doing the same things. It almost made the world feel small.
Well, that was a complaint I had about Creep 2, was that he kept referring to Creep 1 as if it was like Creep 2 was his second kill.
Yeah.
Like, there's 40 other guys. He says that.
And that bothered me in the show in general, that like they do the hip grinding in this episode and they do the axe stuff. And it started to feel like, I need some new material. I get that serial killers have a shtick, but I feel like Mark Duplass does, at points in the show, deliver nuance to his character that we have never seen him do before. He does little things where you're like, we've never seen that side of him before. That's really cool.
Yeah.
But then when they resort back to the thing he does every time, it always felt a little bit like, it's gonna be a great day, started to kind of be like throw popcorn at the screen. And this episode felt like it had a lot of those.
Okay.
But that's a general complaint that I will raise in this episode. It did kind of annoy me. And when they're on the bed grinding their hips and groaning, I was kind of like, what are we doing? I don't know.
I guess they do explain it a little bit later, but it doesn't give you a pass.
Yeah.
I'll agree.
So that's 6. Any other points on Brant?
No, I enjoyed that it was a script flip, that the guy didn't show up, and that was very much like I perked up.
I want to see more episodes like this.
Yeah.
I just want to like them more.
Gotcha.
This is not a me issue. This is a Brant issue. That's what this is. It is a Brant issue. Yes.
My number 5 is Mike.
Okay. That's the first one, yeah?
It's the very first episode.
Okay.
What was your number 5?
So my number 5 was Elliot, the bird watcher.
Interesting.
You're gonna put that one a lot higher?
Elliot's going much higher on mine.
Okay.
We won't talk about it for a
We
while.
won't talk about that one yet. Let's talk about Mike.
Let's talk about Mike.
Mike is one that I originally had lower and bumped up on a rewatch, kind
Okay.
of for some of the reasons I was talking about.
Well, give us the breakdown on Mike. What's the Mike episode?
So Mike is the first one, and it is very much is the most retready of Creep 1, where
Basically a remake of Creep 1.
more or less,
in 20
just
minutes.
shorter. Where Mike is just a guy who's a filmmaker who shows up and he wants his cash, and Mark Duplass does some silly scenes where he's dressed as a vampire, and then he's dressed as, well, he says he's James Caan from Misery, but he's wearing like a...
That was funny. That was funny.
Whatever, that was very The League, but it's also pretty good.
Do you want to tell me about the scene that we're doing here?
Yeah, I'm James Caan. You're Kathy Bates. Duh.
And then, yeah, it's just, and the car gets snowed in, and he messes with him a bit, and there's one really, really strong scene that bumped Mike up for me, which is the whole scene with the axe towards the end.
Yes.
But it's a very by-the-numbers episode of Creep. It's the meat of the show, I suppose.
I think it's the episode for people that haven't seen the movies.
Yeah.
It's basically an introduction to the world. It's your most standard setup. It's kind of the default. I found Mike to be quite a poor performance, which is why this is relatively low. I'd say the guest performances in general are not great throughout the whole show.
I don't think Mike was good. I don't think he was notably bad amongst some of the other ones.
Yeah, there's very few that I have good things to say of on the guest appearances. Mike isn't great, and I found this episode kind of dull, but I also think it is an important episode. Like I said, this is kind of the pilot, and this would be a good episode if I hadn't seen the movies, but I have, so it's low, because I'm just like, I get it. But let's talk about the scene it gets to towards the end.
The axe
The
scene.
movie within the movie.
Yeah.
Because it is actually kind of an interesting thing what it eventually gets to. He's hired a guy to come help him make a movie. But then he reveals that he knows the guy's a documentarian, or a movie maker, sorry, a short filmmaker. And he's like, I really like your movie. I think we should make a movie tonight and I'll pay you. So then he makes a movie about them meeting.
Yeah, what was that?
It's very
what was that
meta.
Japanese thing you did, the one cut of the dead?
It's like One Cut of the Dead. They make a movie about them meeting to make a movie.
Yeah.
Why don't you just play a guy who's hired someone to come up and film his audition video? You know, he's a little awkward, a little strange, and you could play a struggling filmmaker, right? Who's a little annoyed.
But then Mark Duplass reveals everything, but in the context of the movie. And the guy filming him doesn't know if what he's saying is the script or reality, and that was great.
I just want you to be comfortable because in a few moments, I am going to be swinging this axe full force towards the base of your skull. Cool?
Yeah.
The last 6 minutes or whatever, that whole long take of him, like the monologue of him holding the axe, that was fantastic.
I like when being able to see when the mask is totally off, and it's just, you don't get to spend much time in that in any of the other Creep media, any of the even 1, 2, or the episodes.
Yeah.
Where he's fully just like, I've now told you I'm a murderer and I'm going to come murder you.
But there is still the pretense of, is this the movie?
Cut! Cut! No! Keep rolling! I am rolling! Cut!
Yeah, well, there's even just after the axe scene, just like shortly when that's even extended, where he's like looking for him in the snow. That was fun. Because usually it goes like smash cut from like the guy realizes that he's an actual serial killer, and you're just like bam, immediately dead.
Yeah.
And you don't really get to spend time with that very often. I liked being able to spend time with that here.
It was cool.
Oh, right, the car. Yeah, race to the car. That's kind of an interesting idea.
I don't identify. This whole thing of him being like an annoying, vain actor man, it's the character. It's his pretense for meeting these people. It clearly rings true to him as someone who's worked with actors. It just isn't. I'm just annoyed whenever he's doing it. Whenever he's just
But
like,
Mark
no,
Duplass
yeah,
is
whenever, no, we didn't get the shot. It's all wrong. No, now you need to come film me. When he's being this just annoying man.
All right, thoughts. Just hit me with it.
Great. I thought it was great. It was good.
That's it? Just good?
I don't like it. It's
I think that's fair. It does give a really good story reason why they can't leave, but it is
and
kind
there
of
is
annoying.
that trail, especially like when I watched stuff for the second time, being able to watch it and spot where the manipulation is happening, where he's pushing the boundaries. There is some fun to that, but I'm just so annoyed when he's doing it, and I'm just like, I don't like that your serial killer thing is that you're, Ted Bundy's charismatic and women like, you're just like a tool. That's just your thing. You're just
like annoying.
You're just toxic.
I think that you are just saying that we have it so that you can get your $1,000 and leave here as soon as possible.
You know what? This has made me realize something. Is that the episodes I like the most are the ones where the pretense for them meeting up is not that. He's not trying to be an actor. It's something really weird.
Yeah.
The reason they're meeting up, which we'll get to higher on my list.
Okay.
Because I like the ones where it's like the reason they're meeting up is not just I'm hiring a videographer to help me make a movie. It's something totally out of left field. So this is the most boilerplate one.
Yeah, I had Mike higher, but not way higher, and it was around there in my initial ranking.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, no, I think I'm just gonna wait for the snowplow to come, and I'm gonna.
I'll give you $2,000 and we can shoot it in under an hour.
Yep. Yeah.
All right,
Number 4.
We're up to number 4. I think it sounds like it'll be similar on this one. Number 4 for me is Mom and Albert.
Number 4 is me for Mom and Albert. Meow, meow, meow.
Mom and Albert. This is the finale.
It is.
This is a weird episode. Mom and Albert is Mark Duplass going to visit his mom to spend the night, to have a very weird sleepover thing going on with his mom. And then her new boyfriend arrives and Mark Duplass ensues. Where he slowly threatens to kill her new boyfriend. His mom is clearly also a psycho and a killer and kind of raised him to be the way he is. And all the wolf stuff and all the weird sexual stuff, it all seems to come from his mom.
Yeah.
Those breasts are sacred to me, and you're gonna whip them out at the table and wield them as weapons of war against me? You're just gonna give them away to the first plumber that comes along? No offense, Albert, you seem like a really nice guy.
You kind of get all that kind of backstory stuff, and then eventually he kills her new boyfriend, and then it ends with a really weird breastfeeding scene.
It does do that.
And that's this episode. It's low on my list for kind of the same reasons as Brant, which is that the world-building meta episode didn't work as well as I wanted it to.
Okay.
But it worked a bit better than Brant, and I think that's because I did find some scenes in this compelling, like the dinner, where he's offering to teach the new boyfriend how to make movies and come with him for $1,000, and the mom realizes he's luring him in to be murdered. There was some fun little tension and moments like that.
I actually pay $1,000 a day for someone to come film me.
Ooh.
Yeah. I don't know if you interested in trying it, but I could teach you. It's not rocket science.
I also thought that the boyfriend, Alfred, was actually like probably the best actor in the series.
Yeah.
Which is really important. His whole scene where he finds the dead body in the trunk, great performance, and the best performance of any of the non-Mark Duplasses, certainly. But overall, the episode's just kind of weird in the same way Brant was for me, and was too literal with the world building, too specific.
I completely agree.
And it just feels totally unrealistic that two people this crazy could even have made it this far in society, like pretending to be normal people.
Yeah.
It's just like, how would you even have a house? Like, how do you go grocery shopping? Like,
I think we have a hungry baby wolf on our hands.
Yeah.
I know that's like nitpicky, but it's just, I got hung up on the details because they gave us so many details that I was like...
I 100% agree, and even on your breakdown of, like, this landed in the middle of my list because it had the best part and the worst part. I completely agree that the boyfriend was awesome.
Yeah.
And, I mean, he didn't have a ton to do. He was on screen for like 6 minutes, but
yeah.
He was great.
I think there's a problem with your son.
He's a very complicated boy.
No. I mean a real problem.
I also completely agree they filled in way too many blanks. I like the Brant episode because it was giving you a peek behind the curtain without trying to answer everything.
Yeah.
This was like Alex Kurtzman, like some Hollywood hack trying to answer all these questions. It's like, well, why is he like wolves? Well, he's named Wolf.
His mom calls him Wolfie,
Mom calls
and he
him
had a
Wolfie.
stuffed wolf. Yeah.
Why does he do all this? Well, his mom's a weirdo. Like, he does that. She gives him baths because he likes baths. It was not interesting in the slightest.
Yeah.
It was just like,
it's too literal.
Yeah.
It's too, like, direct world building. You want to leave some stuff unknown, some stuff mysterious.
And it's just like, if you're going to do, like, you're just doing Psycho way worse. And I didn't like that. Like, it was just, why?
Oh, man. This is going to be a good night.
Yes. Let's get our dammies on.
Yeah, this character of Mark Duplass works well because he's a face, and when people are engaging with him, he's this charismatic, funny guy, but he's a serial killer. And it's like, we are only seeing the face, which leaves this creepy thing of like, who really is this guy? Like, when he's not trying to charm them, what would he be like? Does he shut down? Like, there's all these questions, and this episode kind of confirms for you what Mark Duplass is like behind the curtain.
Yeah.
Even more than Brant, because he's engaging with people, and he's still like this, and it removes all the mystery of Mark Duplass as a character behind the curtain. It's like we now know him intimately.
Yeah,
it makes it way less scary when you now see him as a killer.
For sure, and it makes me much less interested in like seeing more of him because now I don't have any questions, right? About like what else is the backstory, right? I fully get it, and I think okay, sure, accept the premise that we're going to basically explain the entirety of his character and why he's this weird. So the whole point is like, let's just do like a real effective horror thing. I don't think it was that either. Like, she's weird, and like the breastfeeding thing is kind of gross, and like
it's tense.
It's not ideal that they have a sleepover. Like, but this isn't like interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's fair. The best scene in the episode is the boyfriend opening the trunk.
Yeah,
and like that, because that's just a great moment of acting for both actors, and
yeah,
it's very tense. But I agree, totally agree. It's just like swing and a miss. And I hope if they do more world-building meta episodes in the second season, I hope they make it a lot more vague and a lot more implicit. Like, imply this stuff. Don't just tell us verbatim exactly why he does all the things the way he does them.
It's like Forrest and Bubba.
I gotta find Bubba.
Yeah, it's time for my number 3. I guess we're getting up into the upper echelon here.
We are.
My number 3
I forget what you still have left.
Brad. What do you have at number 3?
Number 3, I had Mike.
Number 3, I had Mike. Okay, so it wasn't
Mike.
too
We
far.
already talked about Mike, but yeah, Brad.
So Brad is the guy who's hired to come film him.
Yeah,
but
and this was the only guy I actually knew. I recognize this actor.
Yeah.
He's like a comedian. Josh something.
Oh, that's right. He's probably in the league.
I don't know. He's on that Game Changers show, that like social media game show thing. He's funny. Anyway, I recognize him.
He's hired to come, the typical shtick, $1,000, come film me. But he is a documentarian, a true crime documentarian that had his great film years and years ago.
Which you can't, I'm not sure if it's actually great or if it's just Mark Duplass
It's
gassing
unclear.
it up.
But he had this documentary, true crime doc.
Yeah.
That was a hit, or at least Mark Duplass likes it.
Oh my God. Brad Branson is in my house! You're in my house! I can't believe it.
It's got a really dumb title. It
does.
It's like the day we didn't.
It's a terrible name. And then he's had years of nothing and doing day jobs. So he's basically, like, the beginning of the episode's him hyping himself up, like, it's just a job, you need some money, do this.
It's just a day gig.
Mark Duplass lures him in with, hey, I actually know you from that movie. I loved that movie.
I really figured out the lore. I figured out that the composer's name is an anagram of your name.
Darby, Brad, Sanborn, Branson, Brad Branson, the composer and also the director.
So he plays on his appeal for his ego. He's feeding his ego. And then Mark Duplass reveals that there's an actual dead body in the house.
Yeah.
And basically baits him in with, wouldn't it be a compelling documentary to film this? Maybe this is the jumpstart to your career that you needed.
It is a true crime story with twists and turns and lies and betrayals. And I am offering you to be the first one to discover it.
The reason this is 3 and relatively high on my list is that Brad's reaction, and I wrote it down, is, I'll hand it to him. That's a compelling situation.
I mean, I'll hand it to you. This is a compelling situation.
Because that's what's kind of funny about it, is it's like Mark Duplass has engineered another situation to manipulate someone, but it is like a good dilemma.
Kind of a once-in-a-lifetime situation. But, like, truly, who would do that?
It's like this guy brought his career back on track. This is good bait. And I like that the guy acknowledges, he's like, I don't know if he's crazy or what's going on, but I'll give it to him. It's a compelling situation. And I'm like, that's kind of the log line for Creep.
I love that.
Every episode should be that.
So, I'll go ahead and tell you, I had to think about the order for 5 of these episodes. This was an easy smash number 1.
This is number 1.
This is far and away my favorite episode of the series. I loved this one. And the reason I liked it so much is because there was a reason for this character to be the subject of the episode. Mm-hmm. It was about the guy getting murdered. And it like worked with what he was and like manipulating him specifically. He wasn't just generic man and then Mark Duplass was being silly near him. It was exactly that. It was like, I'm baiting you in because this is your thing.
It's a compelling situation.
It's a compelling situation in a horror movie. Go figure. And even like the way it plays out, I mean, where it ends up moving is that he essentially tricks him into filming it as if he was the murderer.
Yeah.
Which maybe it's a little silly, sure, but I thought that was great. And I thought that was such a fun and novel way for Mark Duplass's character to screw with someone that wasn't just, I'm going to dress in a silly costume and be annoying.
Yeah.
And I thought this was a lot of fun. There definitely are some problems with it that are pervasive in the series, and that, I like this comedian guy, Josh. It wasn't a great performance.
Not a great actor.
It was fine.
I think this episode is one of the best contenders to make a movie about. This concept could have been a movie, because making a documentary about a murder that you are participating in, you could do 90 minutes. And a lot of these episodes, even the ones I like more, worked as 20 minutes. This one could have been longer because it's actually, it's a compelling situation.
It's a compelling situation.
It was just a lot of fun. I felt like it gave Mark Duplass a lot of different things to do. There were a lot of fun set pieces within the episode, like them burying the body, the reveal of all the hidden cameras. I did think like the hidden cameras don't add a lot when you've already filmed yourself burying a dead body and moving it. I'm like, you're already complicit. But it doesn't matter.
Well, he's gonna cut the footage together.
That's okay, yeah, like reality show style.
And I liked that there was an actually effective twist for me where I was like, okay, he pulled the wires out of the car again, and the car's not gonna start. And then it starts. I'm like, oh, and then it bumps, and I'm like, oh
yeah, he tricks him into running someone over.
Which logistically, very silly. He just dragged an entire body like a kilometer and put it behind the car, and the other guy didn't notice.
But it's a compelling situation.
It was compelling. I'm looking for something to be excited about here, and that worked. I thought that was a lot of fun.
All right. Doing great, Brad. Doing really good.
And this more so than the Brant episode, because this is episode 3. The first 2 episodes are very much just an episode of Creep.
Yeah.
And this one, I'm like, okay, come on, we gotta do something a little different. And he shows him a dead body 2 minutes in. I'm like, that's different.
It's compelling.
Good job.
Because we've never seen another body.
No.
Right? It's always just the 2 guys. Yeah. But to have another body, you start to be like, well, who's that person?
Yeah.
So it's
and they never explain it.
They never explain it. No. And this is fun. This episode really found the balance of like, it felt like a classic Creep scenario, but it brought in enough fresh elements to make it fun and interesting.
Yeah.
And that's why it's 3. It's like it's the solid episode.
Okay.
It's right down the middle. It's really good.
Why, I mean, maybe we'll talk about it with your next 2, but like what held this back from being higher for you?
It really is less about the weaknesses of this one and more about the things I really liked about what 1 and 2 did.
Okay.
So maybe that's a good segue, unless you have anything else on Brad.
No, I really enjoyed this one. It was what I would want from more Creep, which is, let's tell this story in an interesting way and actually make the protagonist a character, rather than, and have Mark Duplass's silliness kind of fade away and be more in support, but have it be more focused. It felt less like Mark Duplass just got someone else to stand there and watch him.
Right. It was like it was more of a 50-50.
Yeah.
Like they were equally important.
Even without the character putting forth a great performance, which I think you can say about Creep 2. I think that was probably the strongest part of Creep 2, is that Sarah
her performance was great.
Her performance was great, but also it was also about her.
Right.
She was a character with things and like an impact on the themes and the plot.
Yeah.
And that's what I liked about Brad. I'm realizing, if I've done my arithmetic correctly, that the 2 remaining are the bottom 2 on my list.
Okay, I was coming to that realization as well. Hey, well, you know what? It wouldn't be a Green Corner ranking
If Reed wasn't wrong.
If I wasn't wrong. So let's move into the top 2. My number 2 is Jeremy, which is your last place.
An easy last. I hated this guy.
Okay. Well, maybe it's more interesting to start with why you hated it than why I loved it.
I mean, I recognize this. He was in 30 Rock, so I guess I lied when I said I know.
Oh, you hate the guest star?
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's briefly set up the episode. It's a guy who's going to a priest's house.
To try and do like an expose.
A gotcha, as he calls it.
A gotcha. Let's do it.
So that's the setup. Is it's supposed to be like an expose on a priest. Of course, the priest is Mark Duplass, who does Mark Duplass things. The guy is probably the worst performance in the series. It was shockingly bad.
It's really bad.
And I've seen this guy a million times.
Yeah, he was in 30 Rock, and he's funny in that, but like in 30 Rock is like the terrible lawyer.
Yeah.
It's fine, right? He's not like a good actor.
Yeah, he's that guy.
He's in some other stuff.
He's definitely friends
Yeah,
of this crew in LA, it must be.
sure.
Because he's really bad.
Yeah.
Father Tom Durkin will answer for the sins of your church, your God, your religion.
So was the major reason was his performance? Is that?
Well, it was both that I didn't like that, and this was along with the next one, or maybe the most. It's just Mark Duplass being silly, where I didn't feel like there was much plot. There was neither world building nor interesting protagonist. It was just hold this camera while I make say silly things and dance around. And
that's fair. It's definitely the most. This is probably the most animated Mark Duplass, the most cartoon villain.
Is
Mark
not
Duplass.
Interesting to me.
Jeremy, you little devil. You've been tricking me. You're not a pious little boy. You're a heathen who doesn't believe in God at all.
So what I liked about it was that it was hilarious to me that Mark Duplass, who always puts on an act, he puts on a character, he puts on a face, he has fake backstories, fake names, but they're always like mundane things that make you sympathetic to him, that draw you in, that make you want to like, I don't know, cozy up to him. That's his goal, right? At Creep One, he really does that because he's like, it's about his like,
my wife is
he has
dying
cancer. He has cancer, and he wants to film it for his kid.
So,
it's always this sympathetic stuff.
I don't need to glorify me or make me seem cool or anything other than what I am. So, buddy, you can see me for the man I was.
This episode, he's playing a priest who has a shady past and like killed another priest.
Right.
So he's playing a serial killer, but that's the lie.
I don't even remember what happened by the time I came to consciousness. There was a dead priest at my feet.
Like he's lying about being a serial killer by talking about being a different Catholic priest serial killer.
It felt like him pushing the envelope. It felt like him seeing what he could get away with.
And I had a lot of fun with that.
Okay.
So maybe this might be what we want different out of the show, but to me, seeing him come up with a convoluted lie that is equally implicating as the like arguably worse than the truth.
Yeah.
Was hilarious and like unnecessary.
I would honor the memory of Father Dom Gherkin by becoming Father Tom Durkin.
And it felt the most like toying with his food because it's like you're not even pretending. You're telling him you're a killer. You're just telling him you're the wrong killer.
Yeah.
And that situation to me was very funny. I did have fun watching Mark Duplass go full crazy. I found he was the scariest in this episode.
Good Lord. I don't bite. Get that tushy over here. Okay.
Especially when he's like running around outside and he's it felt so chaotic because clearly the Mark in this one, not Mark, but the guy
Jeremy.
The guy he's hired
Jeremy
to
the
kill
Mark.
him. Jeremy the Mark. He's like a big sucker.
Yeah.
Like he's not gonna leave.
No.
So Mark Duplass can go full crazy.
Yeah,
and he's like
takes it and
he
runs
like
away.
runs outside, screaming, slapping the windows, then puts the Peach Fuzz mask on, does all the stuff that's usually like the end game.
Yeah.
And then he comes back in and pours them drinks. He's like, "We're gonna have a fun time tonight, buddy." And he gives him a drink, and the other guy doesn't like challenge it.
I call this drink Mummy Loves Her Juice. We used to call it Devil's Juice, but every time I drink it, I ended up screaming, Mummy Loves Her Juice! So my boys renamed it for me.
I found it fun to see him like really mess with someone who does not have the will to leave and will not question him.
I guess if that worked for you, but like to me this almost felt like Attack of the Clones, where they're like, well, let's just have 1,000 lightsabers and that way it'll be 1,000 times as good. Where it's just like we're gonna take all the things in the first one. He's gonna wear the Peach Fuzz mask the whole time, and that way it'll be way better. And I was like,
okay,
I didn't.
It is definitely, it's the sensational one. It's the big crazy one. I thought it was fun. I liked seeing him go full crazy.
Yeah.
I could definitely see an argument to swap this with number 3.
Sure.
I think Brad and this were on like neck and neck for me for very different reasons. I don't know, I like seeing Mark Duplass go full crazy.
Yeah, if you like that, this is one of the better episodes, and if you're annoyed by that, then this is not, because this one wasn't particularly scary. It didn't like do anything super creative, I didn't think, and it was, we've said, probably the worst protagonist.
Yeah.
So if you're not into the silly element, you're out of things to like about this episode.
There's one other thing I did like about this episode that was a callback to Creep 2, and I think it's the only episode in this series that does it, which is that the person that's come to film him, as bad as an actor as the guy is, they have a secret agenda.
Yeah.
He's doing an expose, much as Sarah in the second one was doing an expose.
Right.
I like those situations. I like when the person coming in has an agenda, they think they have the upper hand. Seeing Mark Duplass realize that, and then he starts improvising in a new way, because he's like, oh, I can really mess with this person.
I know all about Gotcha and that fake persona you put on. But it's okay. I'm actually a very huge fan. Love the show.
I find that situation compelling. I liked it in Creep 2, and this was the only episode that did that, which gave it huge points for me. Even though, in the hands of a better protagonist character, you could have elevated that a lot more.
Yeah, which I think Sarah was.
Sarah was
better, and I like their kind of back and forth more so, their power struggle.
Definitely. Episode 2 is a much better version of this.
Yeah.
Creep 2, sorry. But that's one other thing that this episode did that I think is objectively good, despite the fact that the performance of the guy delivering it was not very good.
Tastes like shit, but it'll get you there quick, bro.
Leaving.
Hold on, let's guitar.
So we are on to your number 1 and my number 5.
Yes.
Elliot.
Elliot,
the bird watcher.
So this one, it's probably going to be no surprise. The fact that I like the second one for being kind of weird, crazy setup, super strange, that I would like this episode. Because this episode is the most ludicrous setup in the movie. Elliot has been tipped off by someone that there's a rare bird in this area because he's a bird watcher.
Yep.
Here we are at the exact coordinates that SkyShark Mark 92 laid out for a sighting of the American avocet.
So he goes there to try to find the bird and finds Mark Duplass presumably has fallen out of an airplane and his chute didn't deploy.
Some sort of skydiving accident, and he's just laying there in a heap. Yeah.
I'm alive! I'm alive! Oh God! I thought that was it.
Laying there in a heap, he wakes up Mark Duplass, and Mark Duplass says, you have a really nice camera. I need you to film me so I can make a video, because I'm gonna sue the parachuting company.
Well, I'm kind of... No, I'll pay you $1,000 cash. I need you for 10 minutes.
And I need to make a video of me in the field right after the crash to be compelling evidence when I take them to court.
As long as I can remember, I've only had one wish. It wasn't for $1 billion or 1 million more wishes. I just wanted to fly.
Why do I like this episode? Because that's fucking crazy. Like, that really was an I think you should leave sketch.
Yeah.
Like, or a Nathan for you scenario. It is the most outlandish setup.
So that say, I wouldn't be told, pull your cord anytime after 10 seconds and accidentally get caught up in the plane's jet stream, shoot straight up in the air.
I've seen enough Mark Duplass in a house killing people in Creep 1 and 2, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
I don't think the show really justifies itself that much as I found it generally fun. This episode is what you do if you're like, but what if we go really crazy? What if he's a fake parachute survivor who tricks a birdwatcher into filming his court video?
Right.
I wouldn't be advised to say, hey, go ahead and just jump on your own, even though it's your first jump. You don't need a buddy up there when you're panicking. There's nobody up there. There's nobody around.
I think it's crazy. I think it's fun. I think Elliot is one of the best actors of the guest stars.
Yeah, was good.
He's good. And the funniest part is that it ends up being this whole thing about finding the bird,
and they do
find the bird, which you think is a total lie.
Yeah.
But they actually find the bird, which gives this kind of through line of like, Mark Duplass is crazy, the guy's like, I'm gonna leave. And it's like, but then they hear the bird, or then they see the bird. And it gives you this little through line.
Look, dude, I don't...
Elliot, shut your mouth. Shut up.
And then when he finally actually sees the bird at the end, it felt like it had a nice little bow on it. So this was like, definitely a crazy episode of Creep, but I loved seeing them go full envelope push.
Yeah. I like conceptually the idea of it not just being a filmmaker lured to a house for sure.
Yes.
But kind of in a similar way you said with Brant, where you're like, I like the idea, but do it better.
Okay.
That's kind of how I feel about this one. For me, it is what I've said, that my least favorite parts of Creep are when the camera's just holding on Mark Duplass being just kind of an annoying tool.
Mm-hmm.
And that's this whole episode. When he's like locking him out of the car and he's like running around and I'm just like,
but he's not being
care.
LA actor man.
No.
He's being crazy parachute man.
Yeah.
And that's why I liked it more.
I get it. I get it. It's just this episode really emphasized the part of the whole series that is just not, that doesn't speak to me. And I'm like, I want to watch something else. Another bit of credit I'll give it is this was probably my favorite kill. The plastic bag, for whatever reason, I thought that like, and the fact that he like chases him for a bit and it was set up, that I thought was effective.
I think it's the funniest episode. There's a shot where Mark Duplass drives away in rage and then slams on the brakes and gets out of the car and the camera is zoomed in like 500 meters down the road.
Yeah.
And he's just talking at normal speaking volume, so the guy can't hear him at all, and he's having an entire conversation. That was one of the biggest laughs in the whole series for me.
It's not gonna work unless we're honest with each other, Elliot.
What?
That's fair. I didn't like really when the show strayed into funny very much. I didn't want it to.
Interesting, because I think I've given up on this show being scary.
Yeah,
and now I'm lured in by the same part of my brain as reality shows, which I just want to see crazy situations unfold.
Okay, well that's where we diverge, because like my favorite parts of this show are when I feel like I'm seeing through the facade and kind of spotting the web being weaved. And this one was not as interesting in that capacity, and it was so much of like the first layer as opposed to the second layer.
Yeah.
So I guess we're just kind of looking for different things.
Looking for different things, and I think this episode checked my boxes for what I expected the show to be, which was like, they're making a Creep show. They can't just keep hiring a videographer for $1,000 a day. They're gonna have to come up with weirder reasons that Mark Duplass would meet people.
And they did once, and then they didn't for 3
They didn't
more
do it again, and I commend this episode for really trying it. Maybe they jumped the shark too hard, but I would like them to come up with more things like this, creative ways, creative meet cutes that are not, I'm hiring you for $1,000 a day.
For sure. I don't have a problem with the setup. I don't think the setup was too zany by any means. I like the idea of it getting away from the cabin for sure. It was just that 80% of this episode was just Mark Duplass just like being goofy. And I'm just like, I'll go watch The League if I want that. Which
he's tarnishing my precious Creep tapes.
I said I wouldn't bring it up again, but put $1 in the jar every time I bring up The League watching this. I can't not.
Which is why you might want to hire someone professional who might be able to make sure that nothing bad happens.
And there you go.
The rank, just like all our subscribers are asking for.
Thank you. We've finally done it.
Finally done it. After all these years, a ranking of the Creep tapes.
Came out like a month ago, right? Yeah. Well, we did it.
We did it.
No, it came out in the fall.
Yeah, it came out a while ago. We're not too far behind.
So you have been clamoring for it.
You've been clamoring.
And now you have the official correct ranking somewhere between ours. Which
just take the aggregate, which would end up being...
They're all 3.5.
The opposites. They're all like okay.
Which I think is fair.
Yeah, they are.
I don't think any episode stood out as like unacceptable.
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
I think it's time for a little segment, Avery.
Okay. This is called Pitch Bitch.
Tune in for this episode we can pitch bitch. We were talking that it might be fun because obviously we like some of these episodes, we didn't like some of these episodes. What do we want out of the Creep tapes? There is a season 2 coming. So we each wanted to come up with an elevator pitch for an episode of the Creep tapes. Mark Duplass, you can steal them. I know you're watching. You're one of the 300 people that's seen this video. You can steal them. Avery, let's start with your elevator pitch for a new episode of the Creep tapes.
Okay, so I'm thinking, what do I like about Creep? First of all, I do want it to be not cabin, hire a videographer. That part I don't have a specific pitch for because I don't care that much, but let's say, I'll start with he meets this person somewhere that isn't a cabin and he didn't hire him to be a videographer.
Grocery store?
That's a hard line. Sure. But the elevator pitch that I have, and I was thinking about it because of my comparison for Jeremy, is Kenneth the Page. My pitch is that I want someone who is just dumb and sweet and lovable to the point where he doesn't get what's happening. And then it really annoys Mark Duplass to the point where he gives up.
Okay.
This is what I want to see, is that like, I appreciated that Creep 2 made him essentially fail at manipulating Sarah because he like couldn't bully her. I think that was good, but it was like, that was very much like a end of his arc and like he's too old and tired of this.
He lost his mojo.
Lost his mojo. Whereas I want this to be just like his thing of where he's creating discomfort and confusion. Just doesn't work.
Because they're too pure.
They're too pure.
Yeah.
Like if you want to go like more like Forrest Gump, like it's just a guy who's just kind of an idiot and just like doesn't get it, and it's just like infuriatingly just like, oh, you want another take? Okay. And it's just like, and
I'm gonna kill you.
And you get a lot of shots of him being like trying to figure out if he's being messed with.
Trying to make it obvious.
Like you talked about the power struggle, and I want Mark Duplass to think it's that, and the other character to just not understand any of it.
I think that's great.
That's my pitch. Do that.
And
for
who do you
season 2.
cast as? Is it Kenneth from 30
you know
Rock?
what, Jack McBrayer, he needs work. I think just get him to show up.
This is hilariously how Jack McBrayer operated on the Eric Andre show, which is a very similar scenario.
What did he say?
Yeah, how about these prices?
My pitch is going to be more in line with the ones I obviously liked, which is kind of strange setups. When we talked about the Creep movies in our deep dives, we talked about it's interesting to watch him push the envelope.
Yeah.
He, especially in the first one, what can I keep doing and get away with it? He reveals to him in the first one, I was filming you before you even got to the house today. Do you forgive me?
No, it's a little weird, but I'm past it.
You are?
He's testing the waters, and we were asking, like, how far would he go? If he keeps getting green lights, how far does he go before it's full mask off, kill you? Like, how crazy does it get? If the person puts up kind of no resistance, right? So I wanted to play on that, and I wanted to play on the weird meet scenario. It's got to be an interesting way that they meet and are intermingled, and the context is strange, kind of like the parachute episode. So my pitch is someone is signed up for pharmaceutical tests for money, right? Where you go to a lab and they do like maybe like it's one of those tests where you don't know what it is, like a focus group, but you sign up and you consent to have them do whatever. Mark Duplass has, of course, killed the head of this research facility, and he's the only one there pretending to be a doctor and wearing a lab coat. And the person that shows up is the only one who showed up. Everyone else canceled. So the episode is Mark Duplass taking them through tests and experiments, and he just keeps making them weirder and pushing the envelope until obviously it kills him. But it would be just an exercise in how crazy can he get under the pretense of I am a doctor doing tests and paying you for it before the person tells him you have to stop.
That's a really good pitch. That's a really good setup for, I guess we've talked about our favorite thing of like, okay, it's easy to say he should have left, but when is the actual moment when you would have been sure that you need to leave?
Especially if they've signed a consent form.
Yeah.
Because then he can be like, hey, you signed the consent form.
Yeah.
It's open to anything. I'm paying you $5,000 to be here.
Yeah, it says you gotta rip the heart out of this like alive hyena. Or like whatever he's doing.
You've got to remove your own leg with a chainsaw. It's all fake. These are the things I want to see. So that's my pitch.
Yeah, I think as a wider space of Mark Duplass like pretending to be other things would be very good. Like, you could get an Uber driver episode, something like that.
Yeah. It's just like the person on their phone FaceTiming, and then you hear Mark Duplass as the driver, like, so where are you going? And it becomes them FaceTiming their friends because they think something's wrong. They're like, stay on the line, my Uber driver's weird.
I think the challenge of this becomes that both of these things become, you need it to be about the guy, the protagonist again.
Yeah.
You need them to have a strong performance, you need to write around them. It can't just be holding, I mean, I guess the lab one you can, but.
Yeah, I think in general, for both of these, in any future episodes, I want to just see them increase the budget on the guest star. Because you can get away with the level of writing the show has now, or even worse writing, I think. Because a lot of it's improvised too. So like the writing, at some point, it really matters about the chemistry. Get better actors as the backup people.
I think some of these guys might be okay actors. I think that probably, I don't know, I think maybe what's happening is that this is just purely a personal vanity project for Mark Duplass. I don't think this character is entirely fake. And I think there is an element of he's like, okay, I'm gonna do my whole monologue now, and then you just say your line after. Like,
okay. We're getting into the meta context.
I don't think you can do this much of this character without a little bit of it ringing true.
We're not saying Mark Duplass is a serial killer.
No.
Yes!
Right, yes!
Well, that's our ranking of the creep tapes.
And
That's
our pitches for episodes 1 and 2.
Throw your pitches.
We'd love to hear
new
them.
creep episodes in the comments because it's hilarious. And at some point, they're going to release more creep stuff. And we're going to go up with our 3.5-star enthusiasm and watch it. Because at this point, we're just the creep content channel. We're actually gonna make a new YouTube channel. It's gonna be just all creep content.
It's called The Green Creeper.
Well, if you enjoyed watching us talk about this, make sure to check out our first 2 deep dives on Creep 1, Creep 2. They're a lot of fun. We also have other videos. Believe it or not, we don't only do creep content. You can watch them all. Here's our Patreon. We've released all our episodes there, including extended cuts, deleted scenes, stuff we can't put on YouTube because of copyright. It's got it all. It's got it all in that episode, in the website. So get on over there.
Bye.